Hi, I'm Alexis, just an ordinary cook. It's the holidays and I want to make something fun, easy, and adventuresome. So I'm going to make spinach crepes. What do you need to make crepes? First, you need a crepe pan. I've had this crepe pan for 30 years. It's a little beat up, but it works just fine. And the good news is it came with recipes. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is make a basic crepe batter. It says put all these ingredients in a blender or mixer. I have a blender. It's my basic old Waring blender I've had also for 30 years, but it works just fine too. So it says we need 1 1/4 cups flour, a pinch of salt, 3 eggs beaten, 1 1/2 cups milk, and 2 tablespoons of butter melted. Let's do it. First, I'm going to dispatch these eggs, get them into my bowl, and beat them up. I was told to always hit your eggs on a flat surface. If you whack them on the side, they may go either way. So you want them in the bowl, not on your counter. So let's whip up these little eggs. Okay, so we're going to put all these ingredients in the blender, and the first thing I need to do is soften this butter. I'm going to put it in the microwave for 40 seconds. That ought to do it without cooking the butter. So I'm going to put my liquids in first. I have my 1 1/2 cups milk and my eggs. And I'm going to whip these up so that they are together before I put in the dry ingredients. And we'll do it on low. There we go. All right. Then I'm going to put in the flour, mix that up. Get that going. And then I'm going to add my butter, which is not quite melted. So let's give it another 40 seconds. Now what we're going to do is put this batter into a flat pie pan. The reason that I use the flat pie pan is because we're going to be dipping this into the batter. This allows me to get down into the batter with this pan and not have it all over the place. Okay, I have my butter. Get this mixing. Put it in the little hole at the top. Put a little salt in there. Okay, now we're done. The one thing that I've been told, and it works for me, is now that you've made this, you're going to have to let it sit for a little while. So while we wait for our batter to proof, I'm going to pull out 2 packages of frozen spinach souffle. No, I was not going to make the souffle myself, sorry, but this works just as well. What we're going to do is allow these to warm up just enough so that we can cut them into little logs. Those are going to be inside of our spinach crepes. So we'll set these aside for a little while. But in the meantime, I'm going to make a side dish, cranberries. Now cranberries come in a can or they come in a bag. These are, I think, far superior. What we're going to do is boil them in 1 cup of water, 1 cup of sugar until they go pop, pop, pop. And then we're going to put them outside in the porch where it's cold. Okay, I'm going to turn my eye onto medium high, put my saucepan on the eye, add 1 cup of water, 1 cup of sugar. This is so easy it should be illegal. Stir those until the sugar is dissolved, or not. And then we're going to add our cranberries. stir them up a little bit to coat them with the sugar water. And then I'm just going to leave them on the eye, covered, until I hear that they're starting to pop. Okay, I hear them bubbling in there. Let's give it a stir. Not quite popped yet, but getting pretty hot. Okay, can you hear that? They're getting nice and hot, and some of them are starting to split already. So the process has begun. Pop, pop, pop. Can you hear that? They're starting to pop. They're splitting open, and all the juices inside that have been cooked in the water are gushing out. And so they're melting into the sugar water, and that's what gives you that wonderful cranberry sauce. While we're also waiting for our batter to proof, we're going to make the sauce that goes on top of the crepes. It's a mushroom sauce made with mushroom soup. First, remember to clean your mushrooms, get all those little dark spots off there. Those are growing medium. You know, the mushrooms grow in a mossy cave-like environment. Okay, so now we have them all chopped pretty good. We're going to put them in a bowl for easier transport. I don't trust myself to carry this across the room. So I'd like to saute these in a little bit of water to start. I don't know if I'm fooling myself or not, but I think if we saute these in water instead of butter, we'll save a few calories. And it'll still taste pretty yummy. So we're going to get these going. Put a lid on them to kind of steam them a little bit. And then towards the end, I'll put a little bit of butter in for crispiness. Our mushrooms are cooked pretty well. Almost all the liquid is gone. I'm going to add about, I don't know, a tablespoon or so of butter. Put that in. Now, I guess we can have calories now or calories later. But what we're going to do now is saute them in the butter, let them kind of flavor up and get a little browner. And then we're going to add our soup. Oh, these mushrooms are smelling really, really good. So they're getting a little crispier, a little browner, a little more like the mushrooms that you want on your food. So we're going to add this can of soup. Now, I don't put any salt on this dish whenever I make it because there's plenty of salt in the soup. And if you have a salt issue, I think you can also buy mushroom soup that has no salt. Okay, so here's our half a can, and we're going to stir it to make sure that the soup is not all glommy. I guess that's a word, glommy. And it mixes well with the mushrooms. Maybe a little bit more water. I don't want it too pasty, but I don't want it too liquidy either. So this is kind of eyeball. That's the way Mom did it. And of course, she didn't leave me a book to tell me how to do this. So all I did was watch her, and let's hope I paid attention. Okay, so now we're done with the sauce. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the sauce and let it sit for a little while, and then we're going to reheat it quickly when our crepes are done. Okay, so now we're going to see how our spinach soufflés are looking. We're going to open them and dump them out on our cutting board. Perfect. So they're not too gushy, as you can see. But they're not totally frozen like a rock either. This one has a little freezer burn, but I think we'll be okay. So I'm going to dump those out. Now we're going to cut them into little logs, approximately, I don't know, an inch, 3/4 of an inch thick. Depends on how many people you're serving. Now this dish you can have ample for everybody, or you can be a little stingy and have more people, but they'll still have a really good dinner. So we're going to cut these up, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 16. So if you have 16 people or 8 very hungry people, we're going to set these aside until we get the crepes done. Here's where the fun or the terrifying part comes in. You decide. So this is how it's going to go. We're going to put our batter into this low pie pan so that we can dunk our crepe pan in it easily. And then we're going to go to the stove, cook our crepes, And then we're going to dump the crepes and roll them up with our spinach souffle in our pan. Sounds like a plan. Let's see if we can do it. First thing we're going to do is put our pan on a medium-high heat. This is cast iron, so we want the entire pan to heat up and radiate. In the meantime, we need to spray our pan with some cooking spray so that our crepes don't stick. We're going to do that throughout the entire process. And the one nice thing about having a glass top stove is I can use part of the stove as a counter when I'm not using that eye. Now this is kind of by eyeball. There's no meter or a readout on this crepe pan. So the action is we invert this, we roll it around in the batter until it's coated, then we bring it back to the eye. We didn't get all of it, so we'll have to improve our technique here. But what we're going to do is we're going to let it get halfway cooked. You'll see the edges will start to roll off, curl up, and we're going to use a fork. Once it gets a little bit more crispy. Now your first crepe is usually your sacrifice crepe, mainly because you're practicing. This one is not as thick as it could be. We have a little bit of uneven cooking. I think I need it to be more on the eye. This pan and this eye are almost exactly the same size, which is really good because that helps it get heated. And you can see that the edge here is not quite done because it will pull away, kind of like that. We want to make sure that the edge releases when we invert this pan. Otherwise, you'll have an upside down pan with a crepe stuck to it. And usually your first one is kind of like that. So that's why I call it your sacrifice crepe. So we're going to invert the crepe onto a dish. That wasn't very pretty. Okay, so now we think we have it. We spray our pan again. I spray it every time just to be safe. Okay, then we go in there, we try to get the entire top covered, and that was much better. So now we're going to have this one cook better. Okay, we're going to take our next crepe and get it loosened. You can see how nice it loosens here on the edge. That's your first clue, that it's ready to go down onto the plate. So we take it and just kind of help it a little bit with a fork. Look how beautiful and toasty brown that is. Now the pan seems to be a little hot. So in order to cool it down, I just wave it in the breeze a little bit, let it cool down. Okay, so let's go for the next one. We've got that rocking action to try to coat the top of our pan. And there it goes. So we take our little log here and roll it all the way down and line them all up on the pan. Now, if you can master making these crepes with this crepe pan, I'd be pretty proud of myself if I were you. It's not the easiest thing, but it's not that hard either once you get it down. Now this one, I'm going to take off a little early so that it doesn't get as brown and toasted, but it's still got that lovely toasty color on it. So, time for the next one. So we just keep on doing this till we get them all done. Okay, it's time to put this together. I have all our wonderful little crepes all rolled up here with all of our spinach souffle inside. And I have heated up our sauce that we made with the mushrooms and the mushroom soup. And I have this all bubbling and hot. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pour this over carefully, a little bit at a time, trying to make sure we have mushrooms everywhere. And we have a little reluctant mushrooms here that don't want to jump into it. So we'll get them in. Kind of reapportion everything, make sure it looks good, because that's half of how it tastes. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put some, I like Parmesan Reggiano, but you could use mozzarella or any other kind of cheese, kind of a dry cheese, because what I like to do is once we cook this, I'd like that to be a little kind of brown and crispy looking on the top. Now I've heated the oven to 375. I'm going to put it in there and we're going to cook this for about 40 minutes. However, keep an eye on it. Everything has been cooked except for the spinach souffle. Now it's been halfway defrosted and we'll see how long it takes. Now while we're waiting for our spinach crepes to cook, remember we put this on the back porch. Cranberry sauce is now cool and we're going to put it into a dish. And it's very lovely. It's got this beautiful red sauce and very sweet. Of course, you know, it's sugar and water and cranberries. And in order to make this a little crunchier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some walnuts. So we get our little nut grinder here. I lost the top to mine a while ago, so I'm just going to use my hand. So we're going to grind these up. And right before we serve it, we are going to put this on top, just sort of sprinkle it, for color and for crunch. You could use probably pecans if you wanted, but I like the walnuts. Okay, let's see how our spinach crepes are doing. I think they're done. Oh yeah, they're nice and bubbly and toasty, and look how pretty. Got little mushrooms on there. And because it's the holidays, we're going to put them on a holiday dish. Now, to dish this out, you have one of two choices. You can go at it from this way, or you can go at it from that way. I like to come at it from the end. So let's see if I can get 2 crepes. Oh, let's go for 3. Okay, 3 little crepes. Kind of grab them, put them on the plate. Aren't they lovely? Look how colorful. And that's really good. Okay, so don't forget, we made some cranberries to go with this, and I'm going to dish those out. Not so much sauce, but put those right there on the plate. And if you'd like salad or any other side dish, I'm sure they would look lovely. And don't forget, we made walnuts, so we're going to put a little crunch on the walnuts. And that's our lovely dish. You too can cook a lovely holiday meal like this with little cooking skills like me. Don't forget to be fearless. It's only food. So happy holidays, everyone. And let's try a little harder next year for peace on earth, goodwill to men.